this TBR is going to be spoilerific because it has some Christmas presents, which are going to be the next book haul, which hasn't gone up yet. Hi guys, it's Misty from the Book Rat, and it's time for my January TBR. It's always fun picking the very first books of a new year. Everything feels clean and pristine, and I can change things up if I want to, and I always tend to be really ambitious in January, and January and February tend to have the most books read for me. Part of that is because I work the least in those couple of months, but most of it is just New Year excitement and that sort of gung-ho, you know, clean all the things mentality that you get. You just want to tackle everything in the beginning of the year, and then that peters off. Now, I would normally show just a slew of books that I'm hoping to read in January, and I'm not going to show quite that many this time around for two reasons. One, I'm not entirely sure that I'm going to have as much free time as I normally do in January. As some of you know, my mom was hit by a drunk driver the night before Thanksgiving, and though she's still in a nursing home doing her rehab, and we don't know when she's going to be coming home, but when she does, I'll be the one taking care of her. So there's a good chance that if I'm not at work, I'm going to be there or doing things for her, and when she comes home, I'll be taking care of her. So not entirely sure all the time is going to be devoted to reading. And the other reason is I want to leave it a little open-ended, so if I get through these books, I want to be able to just pick whatever is calling my name, and maybe I won't get through these books and then I won't feel guilty that I didn't get to whatever else was listed. So that being said, it is still a nice size stack, and I'm excited about every last one of them, and I'm going to get right into it with our January Stack of 5 winner. I was really curious to see which one was finally going to win this one, because it was just a runoff to the finish. It was a nail biter, and it very nearly came down to a tie when I factored in YouTube votes, blog votes, and Twitter votes. It was one vote separating two of the books, with the third book following right on its heels. So it came down to one that I wasn't surprised and one that I was completely surprised. The two books that were in a runoff were Shatter Me, which has a really devoted following, and I was sure it was going to get a lot of votes, and Once a Witch, which I was expecting not to really get any at all. Not because I don't think that it's a beautiful book, which was the theme for the month, pretty covers, but more because I hadn't really heard much about it, you know, online, in person, talking with other book people. It seemed to kind of fall off the radar pretty quickly, and so I didn't think that you guys would necessarily vote for it just because you may not have heard much about it, whereas the other ones in the video definitely had a lot of press time. So I was really surprised that it came down to those two, and a little bit geeked that the winner ended up being Once a Witch by Carolyn McCullough. I've been wanting to read this, I've heard it's good, I love the cover, and I loved how enthusiastic you guys were about it. A lot of you liked the excerpt, a lot of you loved the cover, and many of you actually had read it and said that you loved it. I kinda considered this one an underdog this time around, and I'm really glad that it won. So that will definitely be read this month and will get its own video review. And thank all of you for voting. And on to the rest of the stack. I'll be reading Tin Star by Cecil Castellucci, which comes out in February, so I want to get it read this month. It does come out toward the end of February, so it's not like I wouldn't have time, but I want to get the review up and try to be a little more on top of things. I'm so very far behind from the end of last year, just with everything that was going on. So wherever I can get a jump start on things, I want to try to. Plus, I read the very beginning of this. It was in the Macmillan Stack of 5, and I was kind of pulling for it to win. I mean, I wanted all of them to, because they all sounded fantastic and I loved how they began, but this one really drew me in. It starts with a fight and imminent death, and that's always something that makes you want to turn pages and see what's going to happen. So I'm excited for this one. And another Macmillan book that's coming out in February, but this time at the beginning of the month, Something Real by Heather Demetrios, which I did actually start in November just because I was kind of craving something contemporary. And then everything went crazy and everything got pushed to the side, so I only read maybe the first chapter and a half or so, but I really liked the tone of what I read so far, so I'm excited to be able to get back into it and let you guys know what I think. The next book is kind of a planned thing. I want to, since I have two big events every year, Fairy Tale Fortnight and Jane in June, I want to lessen the burden on myself a little bit by reading one book for each every other month. So one month I'll read a fairy tale, the next month I'll read a Jane book, and that way throughout the year there will be 6 books that I'll have read that will be ready to go for the next event, depending on, you know, when it falls. And it will just kind of keep rolling over like that, so that I'll have those reviews, in theory, ready to go, and it will be less stress when it comes down to it, more preparedness, and will also give me more wiggle room in the months leading up to the event so that I can fit in other books when I'm craving them and not just binge on fairy tales or Jane Austen. I will still binge because I love my binge, but I need to have a little bit of wiggle room. So this month I'm going to kick off that every other thing, and I'm starting off with fairy tales, and I'm going for one that I've been wanting to read forever and a day, and that would be Keturah and Lord Death by Martine Leavitt. I love this cover. I've heard nothing but good. I did read an excerpt of this in a Stack of 5 video and really love the excerpt. I read a little bit past the excerpt and really liked that, but I just didn't have time for it at the moment. And it just keeps getting put back on the shelf, and I keep looking at it and just wanting to reach for it. And it's very thin. I know I can fit it in, so I'm doing it. It's happening this month. And the rest of the books are spoilers for the next book haul, because these are all Christmas presents. I love to work in a fair amount of graphic novels in January for 2 reasons. One, it sort of just really gets the ball rolling. A lot of times they tend to be things that just leave me feeling happy and ready to pick up the next thing, which gets me in the right mood for having a really strong month of reading, so I love that. And number 2, my friend Xenia always sends me awesome ones for Christmas. So I have a stack ready and waiting for me to read in January. Just kind of perfect. I do want to tackle the ones that she sent me this year. Spoilers. Those would be Delilah Dirk and the Turkish Lieutenant by Tony Cliff. I love this cover. I had Tony on the blog during Jane in June, kind of talking about his connection to Jane Austen and her as inspiration for this book, which is set during the Regency period but features a female adventurer. It just sounds awesome. I've heard nothing but good about it and have been wanting to read it for a while, so excited for this one. And The Cute Girl Network by Greg Means, Joe Flood, and M.K. Reed, which I also had on the blog and was also Jane Austen related. It was about Mr. Collins, actually. So it all comes back to Jane. Excited about this one too. It sounds really fun. I love the design of this. I love the dump him, dump him, dump him thing going down the whole cover. It sounds great. And again, I've heard really good things about it. The next one probably is going to be a bit to tackle, so I'm not entirely positive that it will be read in January, or at least solely in January. I might split it up, but I don't think I'll be able to resist waiting on it because I love the author. That would be Boxers and Saints by Jean Nguyen Yang. So excited for this one. I weirdly have a bit of a thing about the Boxer Rebellion. I couldn't tell you why. Something about it just like took over my brain when I was a kid. Was a little bit obsessed with it when I was like 10. I don't know how these things happen in my brain, but they do. So when I saw he was writing something about the Boxer Rebellion, I was really excited. And then when I saw just the design of the whole set, I was geeked, and I love him. He is fabulously talented. He's been nominated for National Book Awards and just every award out there, which is really a feat for graphic novels. They just don't get nominated for National Book Awards, so that should tell you something. It's been getting insanely good reviews. I'm super pumped for it. I don't know whether it'll be read in January, but I do want to try. And if you want to see more about the box set, make sure you watch the haul that will be coming up shortly. In theory, I still have to edit it. That's all that's kind of the definite plans. However, I did receive 2 other Christmas gifts that I know myself well enough to know I might not be able to resist this month. So I don't know that I'll have time for either of these, but I also don't know that I won't pick them up before picking up one of the planned books from the stack, because they are calling my name something fierce. And those books are Conjured by Sarah Beth Durst, which came from Liz and was my number 2 most anticipated book this year. I love Sarah Beth Durst. I love anything carnival or circus, and this cover is probably my top cover design for 2013. It's simple, it's iconic, it's memorable, and I love it. For me personally, and I think for a lot of other readers, every book of Sarah's just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And Vessel was one of my favorites of last year, but also just of recent memory. So if this is even stronger than that, it's gonna be a damn good one. And the other book is In the Age of Love and Chocolate by Gabrielle Zevin, the third book of the Birthright series, also known as my #1 anticipated book of 2013. Oh, I have goosebumps right now. That's weird. My book nerdery knows no bounds. This one was from Ksenia, and I could kiss her. I'm poor, and I could not afford another book binge, and I so desperately wanted to buy this one. But between being poor and Christmas and all of this, the sheer nonsense that was the end of 2013 for me, it just didn't happen, and I was gonna just wait and be patient and cry a little inside that I hadn't read it yet. And then she sent it for Christmas. I wish you could have seen my face. But I probably don't wish you could have seen my face because it would have been embarrassing. Probably much like this whole video, honestly. Anyway, I don't think I'm gonna be able to resist this one. I miss Anya and her voice, and I miss Teo, and I miss Scarlet, and I need to know. I've also heard that it is one of the best resolutions for a series, that it just is one of those things that when you're done, you're just like, ah, that was right. I cannot speak highly enough about the Birthright series, by the way. If I haven't pushed it on you personally, I'm going to right now. Read it. I know Anya's not everyone's cup of tea, I know the story's not everyone's cup of tea, but there's something about these books that has just captured my heart wholeheartedly, and you should read them. That was my TBR for January of 2014. Let me know your reading plans for January and what you think of the books that I'm planning. There may be another one added in, which I will do in a separate video, which will have a whole explanation, because I need to talk to someone about something that we were planning on doing this year and kind of got lost in the shuffle of the madness of last year. So there might be more. You might see another TBR-ish video for me, or maybe a book club-ish video for me. But that's all for now. I think I'm gonna kick things off with a graphic novel today, and maybe a quickie Instagram vote, so if you want to weigh in on something I'll be doing this month, follow me on Instagram. But that is all from now. As always, thanks for watching, happy reading, and have a very happy, fantastic, book-filled 2014. If you trust my tastes, that was my phone. Alright. Oh my god, phone, seriously? You know, that was an email, and my email hasn't been working on my phone for weeks now, and suddenly I'm recording a video and it works. Okay. Oh my god, and that was Facebook. Okay.